To the Kings of Israel tutorial on how to play the game. My name is Lance. I'm going to show you how to play Kings of Israel. Start off, let's go over the components to the game. The main component to the game is the map, and the map shows ancient Israel on one side and all of its locations, and on the other side is a list of the kings, and that is going to be the rounds to the game. Over on the map, you'll see the various locations, and there's various trade routes that go between them. Or maybe there's routes along the sea if they're adjacent to the sea. Over here, surrounding Israel, are the outside nations. Those can't be visited, but all these other locations can. This side with the kings shows all the different kings that Israel had during its the period it was around. If it's in white, that king is good. If it's in red, that king is bad. And down at the bottom, where it says Israel destroyed, that ends the game if the players haven't built enough altars by the time we reach that area. Some kings have 3 to 4 players or 4-player markers on it. That's to... those kings don't appear unless you're playing with that many players. And we'll go over that later. Now, besides the map to the game, you also have the various tokens that are used, which include the prophet tokens, the color tokens. These guys are going to appear on the map, and they're going to move around and do things. There's one black false prophet token. That's only used in the expert version of the game. Don't worry about that right now. You've got the King's Timeline token. That rests on the King's Timeline. It's going to be moving down as you play along the game, and it's going to determine what round we're on. You've got the altars to the game. All these white pieces, these are good. These you want to build to win the game, and they also can be used to make sacrifices on them, which is also a good thing. On the other hand, you have the idols, the golden calves. Those are bad. They will appear on the map, and they can cause a lot of bad things to happen. Then you've got sin cubes. These are these little black pieces. They represent evil that's occurring within Israel. There's these 3 red destruction cubes. Don't worry about them right now. They're just for a certain card that might come out. Then you've got these prophet actions, game turn order cards. These are to help the players know what they can do on their turn or what happens each turn. Give one to each player, and they can refer to these cards to see what they can do and what's going to happen next in the round. Besides that, we've got some cards. We got a starting player card. You should give that one to whoever's probably whoever's got the most experience playing the game, and if you're not sure, you can do it randomly, or you could give it to the oldest player, whatever. And you have these ability cards, and these ability cards are used to allow each prophet to do special things. This is their special ability that they have, and each player is going to get one of those. You've also got the blessing cards. Blessing cards are good events that occur, and these will you'll receive usually during the reign of a good king, unless you're playing the easy mode, in which case you might receive them when you make a sacrifice. There's the location cards. Location cards determine where bad events, bad things occur, and they show each different location. There's one for every location in this deck, and then there's 2 for every nation. In addition, there's also a card that we'll talk about later. That'll cause you to shuffle the deck again. Next up, you got resources. Resources are what you need to build altars and make sacrifices and move around faster. There's 5 different resources. There's cattle, grain, gold, stone, and wood. And each is used for a different purpose. Finally, you have the sin and punishment cards. The sin and punishment cards are bad events. These occur during the reign of bad kings, and they will be drawn every turn that you hit one of those bad kings. And so that's all the components to the game. Now we'll get to setting up the game. So when we set up the game, we'll give each player one of these profit action cards, and we'll give every player also a starting player. What the appropriate player will get a starting player card. That person's going to begin the game. And besides that, we're going to take all these the blessing decks, and we're going to take the resource decks, and all those different decks. We're going to shuffle them individually. And I already shuffled them, so we'll just set these off to the side. The ability card deck you only need to worry about, well, right now. And so this would get shuffled, and each player would get an ability. And this is a special thing that they can do, or something that they're good at. The guy with starting player is an imposing will. He stops bad things from appearing in his location. The sailor is good at moving around here and also removing evil that in a port area. And then we have a determined player who's good at when they build altars, they also destroy all the evil and idols in their location. So those are the starting abilities. Each player is going to take a token of their choice, and then they're going to put it on the location that's shown on the bottom of their ability card. So the imposing player, will player, he starts out over at Jabesh Gilead. Let's say he's orange. We got the sailor, we'll say he's blue, starts over at Akko. And the determined player, he starts over in Kabul. Let's call him green. Why not? You place all those, and then each player, there's also the one altar that goes in Samaria. That's to represent the capital of Israel for most of its life. It was at other places too, but Samaria is where it was most of the time. We've got a King Timeline token. We're going to start this out at Saul. We're going to put it up here. That's to show which king we're on. Everyone's also going to get 2 resource cards. And let's hand those out. So each player has different resource cards. Normally these would be hidden. They would be in that player's hand, but we're just going to have them face out for now. And so some people have wood, some kettle. This guy has a stone and wood. And now we have to set up the initial evil that's in Israel. So basically we'd shuffle the location deck, and then we'd start drawing cards and putting sin cubes out on the board. To find out how many single sin cubes we got to put out, we have to count the number of players. So there's a 3-player game, and we add 2 to that. So there's going to be 5 cards drawn to draw single cubes. The first one we draw is a nation. We're going to skip that one. We just want locations. We don't want nations. And we got another nation. We got a card that's a Shelby again card. We're going to skip that. And we're going to go to the first. All right, we got one. Samaria. It gets a sin cube. We got Tirzah. It's going to get a sin cube. Jericho. Got a sin cube. Aram, skip. Hazor. It's got a sin cube. And Megiddo. So we got the initial single sin cubes. But now we have sets of 2 sin cubes. And that's equal to the number of players plus 1. So there's going to be 4 places that are going to have 2 of these on there. We got Hamath. It gets 2. We got Dothan. That's going to get 2. We got Chinnereth. Going to get 2. We got one more. Mount Carmel. Going to get 2. Alright, so we got all those. Now we finally need to put in some idols. And the idols are going to go in locations equal to number of players. So there's going to be 3 idols out here. We got Akko. Going to go right there. We got Dor. It's going to go right over there. And we got Mount Gilboa. So that's going to be the last one, and that one's going to go right there. Now we take all those locations we drew, and we're going to shuffle them together with the rest of our deck. And then we are going to be all set. And setup is complete. Now we would begin the game. Alright, how to win and play Kings of Israel. First off, how to win. To win, you need to put in an appropriate number of altars in the game to win. Right now we've got 3 players, so we need to put all but one of the altars in. So that equals 8 total. But we start out with 1 in some areas, so that's good. Now, how to lose. To lose, you can lose 2 ways. This token gets all the way down to Israel destroyed, we lose. If, on the other hand, we start out with a certain amount of these sin cubes and idols. If ever all of, say, these tokens get on the board and you need to put another one on, if you're not able to do that, you lose. Everyone loses together in this game, and everyone wins together. On the other hand, for sin cubes, say you got all these sin cubes out and you need to put another one on the board and you don't have it, you lose. Everyone loses. So it's important to put these altars out, but also keep the idols and sin cubes in check. All right. A normal round to Kings of Israel consists of 4 steps. You've got the King's Godliness stage, which will be looking at this chart, and that's going to determine whether we draw a blessing or a sin and punishment card. After that step, we have the sin increases step, in which case we're going to be drawing locations to see if where evil is spreading. And we got the Prophet's Work stage, and Prophet's Work stage is where we're going to use our Prophet's action cards to remember what we can do on the board to remove evil and build altars and stuff. And then you have the end of round phase, and that's where you do all the maintenance you need to do at the end of the game, at the end of the round, which is like the passing of the starting player card, moving this down to the next king, and so on. Okay, King's Godliness stage. First thing you're going to do every round is you're going to look to see where this token is lying. It's lying on Saul right now. He's a good king. So what's going to happen is the starting player is going to draw a blessing card and put it into their hand. This would normally be hidden, but in this case, we're just going to show it. In this case, this is called Urgent Help, and I'll read it. Each prophet may immediately move into any location that contains either sin cubes or an idol. So at some time during the game, this card could be played, and then everyone can decide to move into a location that's got either those sin cubes or idol. So it helps players to get around quickly in the game. If we were instead on a bad king, we would draw one of these sin punishment cards. And let's take a look at one of them. This is Foolish Prophets. Any player who does not remove either 2 sin cubes or an idol this turn must discard all of their resource cards. And so that is a bad event. So everyone's got to do some good work that turn. Otherwise, they're going to lose all the resources that they have. Some of these stages have 3 to 4 players on them. Those are short-lived kings. There's some kings who lived or reigned for only 2 years or less. That is the kings with those markers on them. They only occur when you are playing with either 3 to 4 players or 4 players for some of them. In which case, when you get to that step, you're going to do your normal drawing of a blessing or sin and punishment card, and then that's all you're going to do. Not much happened that period of time. He didn't live too long. And then you're going to go to the next king. And so those are special. So in this case, say we're over here, and we got to this step. We're with 3 to 4 players, so we would draw the sin and punishment card for that person. Then we would move down to the next one, which is Omri. We'd skip Zimri because he's only 4 when you're playing with 4 players. That is the basic idea behind the King's Godliness phase. There's one more thing to know about, is there's certain sin and punishment cards that are called foretold events. Let me see if I can find one here. It says, here we go, Holy Place Decay. The first thing that says foretold event. These events don't actually happen right away. You read about them, and then you put them down in the deck, number of cards equal to number of players. So we're playing with 3 players, so I'm going to put it down 3 cards in the deck. It's not happening yet, but it's going to happen soon, and we've been warned about it. It's a foretold event. So instead of actually dealing with that right now, we're going to draw another card, and we're going to deal with that one instead. When we finally get down to that card, and we need to draw it, well, we then see what happens, and usually what happens is pretty bad. That's why it's a foretold event. That only occurs in Sin and Punishment deck. Blessing cards are all cards that can either be played any time during when the players are doing their turn, or they can be a permanent bonus for someone or something. And that's the King's Godliness phase. The next step is the location step. Location step is the sin increases phase. That's when we draw location cards to add sin cubes to the board. Now this first round we wouldn't do that because we've already set up the board with evil. But let's say we're on David's turn. We drew a blessing and then we draw location cards. And we draw locations equal to the number of players plus 1. So a 3-player game is 4 cards. So let's say, all right, here's the first one, Judah. It's a nation. So instead of cubes going into that location, they're going to appear anywhere that they're connected to in Israel. So Judah will cause 1 sin cube to go to Jericho and 1 sin cube to go to Bethel. Nation cards are usually worse than within locations within Israel. You got Mount Tabor, and Mount Tabor is over right here, and he gets 1. We got another one, is Akko. Okay, this is good because it shows off the sin spreading idea. Anytime a sin cube would go into a location with an idol, it's going to cause sin to spread. And so people are, spreading out ideas about the idol and trying to get other people to worship that particular false god. And so what happens is anywhere there's a trade route between that and another location, sin cube's going to go that way. So there's going to be a sin cube's going to go here, sin cube is going to go over here. It's not going to go up here, it's not going to go to nations, but it is going to go down to Mount Carmel. And Mount Carmel gets 3 sin cubes now, and that's good for us to know that once you get 3 or more sin cubes in a location, an idol also appears. The area is becoming so evil, they start worshiping false gods. And so now we've got another idol out there, which would be bad. And then the last card we would draw is Door. Okay, well, this actually works out pretty well because this shows how bad idols can be. If, say, sin cube went to Door, it caused sin to spread to every adjacent location. So going down to Heifer, doesn't travel by sea, but it would go to Mount Carmel. Problem there, though, is it's an idol, so it's going to cause another sin spread. It's not going to go to back to Door because sin has already gone in there, but it's going to go to Megiddo. It's going to go Akko. Akko has also got an idol, so it's going to cause sin to spread there. So it's not going to go back here, but it's going to go over here and here. So in just one turn, all this bad stuff happened. So this would be a bad situation for the prophets, because right now we ran out of sin cubes, and so if we use one more, we're gone. And anyways, we got 2 idols left, and idols are terrible, and we got 4 of them on the board. So this is a bad situation for them. So that is the sin increases phase. There's one other card that I should note here, is the Shall Be Again card. There's 2 of those in the deck. When this card gets drawn, normally whenever you draw a location, it goes and discarded and you don't have to worry about it again until that card is drawn, Shall Be Again. So when Shall Be Again is drawn, Shall Be Again a card is discarded from the game, and it causes all the old locations that were drawn to go back in the deck and be shuffled. And then you draw another card. So those can be pretty bad too. Prophet's work phase. That's the part where you get stuff done. On your turn, everyone's got 4 actions that they can do. And 4 actions can be used using any of these different kinds of options they have. And they can do multiple things of the same kind. So let's go over the options someone has. One option is to move. If you're at a location, you can move from your location to adjacent location if you're connected by road. Or you can go by sea to the next place by sea if you're adjacent to port. If you have a cattle or a grain card, you have the option of discarding one of those to move up to 3 spaces by road. So if, say, I had a cattle, this person had a cattle card they want to use, they could discard it and go 1, 2, 3 and get way over there if they wanted. Or they could just go 1, 2. Preaching to Israelites, that's one of the main ways that you get rid of these sin cubes. If you're at a location and you've got sin cube there, you can use 1 action to discard a sin cube. So that is gone. And you can do it multiple times if you want. It takes an action every time you do it. Otherwise, you can remove idols for 2 actions. So for 2 actions, this person can remove this idol from the board. Next up is you can acquire resources. For 1 action, you can draw the top card from the resource deck and add it to your hand. If you do so, then you also have to remember you can have no more than 6 cards. But otherwise, you can do that as many times as you want, but it takes an action for every time you do it. Next up is you can build an altar. Let's say this person had gold, and they had a gold, stone, and wood. Well, if you have a gold, stone, and wood, and you're at a location without an altar, you can discard the gold, stone, and wood, and then add an altar to your location. This guy was the determined guy. He would put the altar right there. And that's good. You're closer to winning the game. In addition, altars can be used for making sacrifices, which is the next action you can do. If a person has a grain and a cattle, and they're at an altar, they can discard a grain and a cattle to make a sacrifice. Sacrifices are pretty useful because when you make a sacrifice, you remove all the sin cubes from your location and 1 from each adjacent location by road. So in this case, with 1 action, he removed 4 sin cubes. On the other hand, sacrifice does not affect idols. You have to remove those by hand. And finally, you have the option of giving resources. If you're at the same location as another person, you can give them resources. For 1 action, you can give them up to 2 cards from your hand and give it to them instead. And so this is a good way for people to help get sets of cards to make either sacrifices or to build altars. You can give up to 2 resources. You can never take resources. So if your location is your turn, but you want the cards that the other player has, well, you're going to have to wait until it's their turn for them to give you those cards. And that is basically what you can do during the action phase. In addition, if you have any blessing cards, you can play them during this time at any time. And that can be helpful. This person could play this to have everyone move to a place with an idol. And so then they're all ready to destroy those idols to get rid of that evil. End of round phase is the last step. At the end of round phase, the starting player is going to pass the next person clockwise. This player token, the king token, is going to move down to the next king, skipping over any markers that's not applying to the 4 players we would skip since we're playing with 3. And then you play the next round, unless this thing landed on Israel destroy, in which case you lose. And that's the basics of the game. In the easy version of the game, it's a little bit different in that everyone plays with 3 initial resources and their hand is face up. The easy version is a little different in that everyone plays with their hand up. In addition, they also can, when they make a sacrifice, at the end of the turn, they get to draw 1 blessing card, which can be pretty useful. And so that's the easy version of Kings of Israel. The expert version of Kings of Israel has this false prophet token, and he's bad. At the end of the round, just before the end of round phase, the false prophet is going to move, and then he's going to drop a sin cube wherever he's at. An exception is, if he's at an altar, he's just going to stay there and add a sin cube. His goal is to get 3 sin cubes at a location, which causes the idol to appear. If he creates that idol, he's going to destroy any altar at his location. So he wants to destroy altars. The other thing he loves to do is he loves to move into locations with idols so he can cause evil spread. So if he starts his turn and he's going to move, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to see if there's any altar close by. If there's an altar close by, he's going to move there first, unless he's already at one. Otherwise, he's going to look for an idol, and if he sees an idol, he's going to move it there. He's going to move over there and add a sin cube. If there's no idol, then he's going to find a spot with the least amount of sin cubes because he wants to spread his evil everywhere. So in this case, he would go to, well, he's only got one option. He would go to Mount Tabor if that was the case, and then he'd add a sin cube. One exception, though, is the false prophet will never move into a location with a prophet. He's intimidated by them. So In this case, he would never move into this spot because there's already a prophet there. In addition, if he's ever at an altar and there's a false prophet there, a regular prophet there, he's going to move out of that spot because he doesn't want to deal with that person. The false prophet just makes the game more difficult. One thing that can be done, though, to get rid of him temporarily is if you go to a location with a false prophet in an altar and you make a sacrifice, the false prophet is destroyed, besides the benefit of removing sin cubes. At the start of the next turn, he's going to appear back on the board again, but temporarily he's gone and you move him away. One other special thing about the false prophet, you can never remove sin cubes or idols from his location, by any means. For example, if this person made a sacrifice at this altar, he'd remove these 2 sin cubes and a sin cube from every adjacent location, except for the false prophets. He stops that sin cube from disappearing. And that is the basics of the false prophet. Expert version. And that's basically the game, Kings of Israel. If you have any questions about it, you can go to www.funhill-games.com and you can look at the frequently asked questions to solve any of the questions you have. You can always email us, go to the contact page on our website, or you can just go on Board Game Geek and also, which is a website, and you can also find out more details there about any rules that you might have questions about. In addition, if you want to play a simpler version of the game that takes a few of the rules away but allows the game to go faster and can be used for Bible study purposes, go to the Funhill Games website and go to the section on the rules, and there will be a Bible study rulebook for you to use. And also you can go to the Bible study section of the website to download Bible studies that can be used with the game. That is it for Kings of Israel. I hope you were able to play it and enjoy the game, and thank you so much for your time.